All right, my first guest is Miss Crystal Bass. She is here. I first have to thank the wonderful Natasha Brown for introducing me to her and getting her on the show. I'm very happy that you're here. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Okay, let's get straight to it. Tell me about your book, Dark Clouds.
So, Dark Clouds is my first novel. I've self-published it under Crystal Clear Publications.
Self-published?
Yes.
Okay.
Self-published.
Self-published.
And the story is about a family in Baltimore, and it takes you through the trials, tribulations of a family. If you have a family, you can relate to the story. It takes you through all the different issues that families deal with, whether there's secrets within the family, whether there's disease, death, and coping mechanisms, whether, you know, people are going to jail, people are strung out on drugs, just something for everybody.
Okay, so how did you get, what made you decide to be an author? How did you what made you sit down and say, I can write a book, I'm gonna do this, and publish my own book?
Well, I was encouraged by a lot of people that I shout out in the book. First time I knew that I was good at writing was around 3rd grade. My uncle was checking homework with myself and his daughter, and he realized that I was a really good writer. So he encouraged me from a very early age. However, Dark Clouds was the beginning of a short story for an assignment at school, and my professor encouraged me to continue going with it because the story was compelling and he wanted to know more and what was going to happen. So that's the birth of Dark Clouds.
You're a Morgan State graduate?
Yes, I am.
Morgan State in his house again. And so are you from Baltimore?
Yes, originally, yes.
Okay, and then you've traveled to California too?
Yes.
Everybody knows. What part of California were you in?
Well, I was in a couple of parts, but I was in Van Nuys for the most, in the Valley.
Okay, and you were pursuing a career in entertainment, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, actually, when I was in junior college here at Catonsville, they had a big cattle call in 1998 for Enemy of the State. And so, you know, I went to the cattle call just as extra credit for a theater class. And I got there late and was number 10,000 and some odd around my chest. And they came through the line and picked out just a few people. One was me, and they called about a week later. I had the role of being a stunt woman for Regina King.
Wow.
Yes, and then they took me to LA, and that's how I started living there.
That's so cool. Of all of those people.
Yeah, it's cool.
So how was that? What did you have to do as a stunt double?
You know, get tossed around in cars a lot, roll down hills, jump through glass.
They don't
all
require
that kind
any
of thing.
special training? They just pick people?
Well, no,
to do
not
that?
really. Not really.
Did
Well,
you
I
hurt
started
yourself at all?
small first. The
Okay.
first movie I did, Enemy of the State, I was a body double.
Okay.
So I did a lot of running and, you know, that kind of thing.
Did you meet Will Smith?
Of course, yes.
Oh, Will Smith. So anyway,
A whole nother story.
That's a whole nother segment. Is he as fine as he
Yes.
is in person?
He's very fine.
That's a married man.
I'm gonna tell you
Forgive me.
something about Will Smith that I was shocked on the set of Enemy of the State. He didn't even tie his own shoes. I saw people coming, tying his shoes and everything, and I was just like, wow.
Wow, must be nice. I love his kids right now. They are
Yes.
doing amazing things.
Yes.
Good for them. Good for you. So tell me about how, and then you came back to Maryland. Why'd you
And then
come back?
a tragedy, a family tragedy caused me to come back because, like I said, I was going to junior college and I was pursuing theater. And then I left and went to California. I worked out there in theater for 5 years. I did everything from stunt things to cameo roles
For 5
and shows.
years?
For 5 years, I earned a living.
Wow.
I did a lot of things. I did wardrobe. I did a whole bunch of things. And then a family tragedy happened that brought me back to Baltimore. When I came back to Baltimore, I thought, you know, I could just get a regular job, but I should pursue. Once being in California, seeing behind the scenes how all the movies were filmed and how they're directed, I felt like I could do that myself. So that's when I started writing, well, finishing up my writing and just feeling like I could take this and turn it into a film as well.
So when you cast somebody, you know, I'm trying to expand. I got experience in television and film.
Yes, you do.
So, you know, you could, we talk about that a little later. So tell me about the book, some more about the book. First of all, let's talk about the artwork on the cover. This is very nice and different. Who did this for you?
Well, a student. Her name is Brianna Faulkner, and she was a student at UMBC at the time. And what we wanted to do with that cover, I wanted to bring back, just like people were bringing back old school music at the time, I wanted to bring back an old kind of cover. I didn't just want a photograph.
Right.
That's easy. So I wanted to bring back the Romare Bearden style with a collage. So that's actually a collage. It's a bunch of itty bitty papers just fused onto a big poster board and scanned to make that cover.
Tell me about being in. I love writers. And I've also learned from Natasha too that writing is so very much important in our business and how we communicate and how we get further. I really think that I could be the bomb.com if I spent more time writing, planning, organizing, if I wrote more. How did you, or how often do you write? Tell me about you as a writer. How does writing work in your life? How do you fit it all in?
Well, writing takes a lot of discipline, and that comes with time. You really have to set aside something that's reasonable for you. Our lives are very busy, but sometimes I tell myself, okay, my goal is 2 pages a day. That's realistic for me at this time. Right now, I'm working on a sequel because it's by popular demand. Everyone wants it. Everyone wants to know what happens to these characters. So I'm working on a sequel, and I make myself at least do 2 pages a day. I would like to do more. And maybe that's coming, but right now I just commit. So I think the key is finding what's good for you, what works for you, and what you think is reasonable in your busy daily life.
And I know also that you are a speaker. You're about empowering our young women. One thing I'm very serious about, and I would like to figure out a way to get out, make my voice heard about young women and becoming moms too soon sometimes, and also single parenthood. You have some experience with that yourself. Yes. So tell me how you are getting out there. Tell me how, or speaking and letting your voice be heard.
Well, I would like to do more, but right now I mentor.
Okay.
And so it's just very important to me to try and give back and maybe help people in the things that I had to learn the hard way. And so I think a lot of times as parents, when you are telling something to your children, they don't really want to hear it. But if they find someone who they feel is nice or, you know, that they can relate to, they listen a little bit more. So I'm starting on a small scale, but I would like to get out more into the middle schools and the high schools. I've done some college. I've gone back to Morgan and done some speaking. Okay. But I would love to reach a larger audience as far as high schools and middle schools are concerned.
I would love to too. So we're going to talk to Natasha's in the house, Think Brown Inc. We're going to talk about this and make it happen, because I really think that is, I'm not going to say that's my calling, but it would be irresponsible of me to not share my story, because like you said, people make mistakes, and it's very easy to make those mistakes when you don't know no better. You don't want to listen to instructions and do what you're told. I feel like people might be able to identify with me.
Right, and for me, a lot of it has to do with my story. So I didn't have a silver spoon. And the things that I'm going to speak to these young ladies about, they're things that I lived, I did, I've been through, you know, and I really have a story to tell. I don't want to give away too much too soon, but I've had to deal with issues on my own dealing with, you know, jail, things like jail. And I've persevered over that. I have a very good job, very well educated, things like that. But we can fall into traps dealing with different men, and it all comes from, you know, it starts at home. That's one of the things. It starts at home, and that's one of the reasons why I mentor.
Okay, so we're going to have you back on the show so we can talk about some of those things.
Okay.
And the sequel as well. Yes. So what's your website? Give the folks your website.
www.crystalclearpublications.com.
Get more information from her, ladies and gentlemen. You will see her again. Hopefully see us together doing something, working out, or you might see me in dark clouds. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much.
No problem at all. We'll be right back.